stuff is still burning in the background, if that makes sense.
It's like the entire city's on fire. So the fire station has to decide what to prioritize. And they're like, okay, we can't let the mayor's house burn, or we can't let this school burn, which is the right thing. But then everything else around it, because they don't have the resources, because the entire city's on fire, ends up burning.
Right. And that's typically what is likely causing so much disease to pop up, because number one, we're already being born with a higher toxic load than our ancestors were, simply because of the environment, because of, how we're living these days, unfortunately. But then factor in the fact that we're adding to it every single day is not helping. And so the glutathione that we have is under tremendous pressure now. We only have a certain amount. Our bodies make glutathione, like you said, and it recycles it, but it recycles it only if the body isn't in a state of inflammation, isn't in a state of oxidative stress. So things that are increasing inflammation and oxidation are things that we need to avoid.
And toxins is going to be one of the first one in that category.
Absolutely.
It's something that we can all do. We can avoid, to the best extent, we can avoid adding new toxins that we expose ourselves to directly. We can at least pump the brakes on that and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to use an air freshener in my car. I'm not going to use an air freshener at home. I'm not going to use these fragrances all over the house, including candles, which are pretty toxic. We're going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to minimize and I'm going to choose healthier options for cosmetics. In fact, you have a whole partnership with, I think, a company where you sort of have ranked different products that are better for you. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm actually the head toxicologist at the Swell Score, and it's my job to actually vet and handpick these products that go onto this wellness platform, meaning that they have to undergo rigorous screening from myself. We need to look at the contaminant reports. We need to look at the certificate of analysis. Of course, the ingredients are extremely important, even down to the packaging and how sustainable the company is. Because a lot of our products out there, 99.9% are in plastic, right? That's just the norm. But this is something that I'm urging all of us to move away from buying products that are packaged in plastic as much as you can. It's impossible to avoid it all, but as much as you can, right? If there's something that you absolutely love and you don't want to give it up and it's in plastic, just try to make a better choice maybe in another area if you can.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
So I want to give a little plug to the Swell Score. Tessa, could we bring that up? theswellscore.com. I actually wasn't familiar with it before I started following your work. And we can share our screen for those that are watching on YouTube. So this is a website, and you guys have different categories: sauna and infrared, supplement and food, beauty and bath, household, sale. And then people can, they can sign up for like an email list, and you'll keep them posted about things. And then within each of these categories, you break down what are the better products for people.
Exactly. So all the products that we have on the Swell Score have been vetted by doctors and scientists. So myself being the toxicologist on board, we've got naturopathic doctors, medical doctors that are all on board with vetting these products. So it's basically your best bet at finding the safest, healthiest products under one roof so that you don't have to do it all piecemeal. We're holding companies accountable. We're scrutinizing them and putting them through a rigorous vetting process, and only the ones that pass can actually make it onto the Swell Score.
Beautiful. So if you click on the category up top, Tessa, beauty and bath, for example, you can scroll through and you have subcategories on the left-hand side. It's manufacturer, but you could put in candle. We were talking about candles. So if you could tap candle, then great. There's another candle kit that's there. Or you could hit body wash, right? If you go back, that's an area where people are trying to find, better, alternatives, and you can see a few categories. And my guess is, again, because you guys are very meticulous, every month you're adding more products in different categories.
Right.
Because it takes time
to
be able to do that. Amazing.
Yeah, it's a continuous process, continuous endeavor. I'm extremely passionate about this because I wish I had something like this when I started my low tox journey.
Amazing. Beautiful. Okay, let's come back to glutathione.
Yes.
Wanted to give a plug. Love companies that are doing amazing things. Swellscore.com. You can find it in the show notes below. And you can sign up for their email list. Let's go back to glutathione. So you were saying that our body naturally produces glutathione, but if we have such a toxic burden because of all these chemicals that we are exposing ourselves to, cosmetics, fragrances, etc., then our glutathione is busy, and so it's not as effective, so to speak, because there's too much burden. Now, that's why number one in your list of things that we can do to support our body's natural glutathione process and production is avoidance. Let's go from there. Let's give a number 2 and 3. Are there other lifestyle factors, food? Are there other lifestyle factors, working out, etc., that also support our body's natural production of glutathione?
Absolutely. So the second one would be through diet. We can provide the building blocks that are necessary for glutathione production as well as glutathione recycling through the diet. So eating foods that are rich in sulfur, because sulfur is the part actually within the glutathione molecule that's doing the hard work. It's the sulfur. So things like broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, garlic, onions, sulfur-rich foods, those can go a really long way to provide the building blocks. We also need protein because glutathione is actually a tripeptide, so it's 3 amino acids. So we need the amino acids glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. And you can get that through food. You can also get that through supplementation. I personally take whey protein because there have been human trials showing that whey protein consumption can increase glutathione levels, which I find to be really interesting. Nonetheless, we can also exercise. Exercise is a huge driver of glutathione. So initially when you exercise, there's actually a small period of oxidative stress that happens. But this is an adaptive response. This is to stimulate glutathione. So there's a little bit of oxidation that happens, but it's a good thing. And I don't think we necessarily need to turn that off by pumping in a bunch of glutathione. I think what we need to do is just allow the body to do what it needs to do, which is make more glutathione. And that can be after weight training as well as aerobic exercise.
Incredible. You were mentioning about sulfur and how important that is. That'd be all the classification of cruciferous vegetables, right? So just name a few that are out there that, broccoli you mentioned. We had on Dr. Jed Fahey on the podcast, who's a researcher. I believe that he is with Johns Hopkins, and he was the one that did the research into sulforaphane and how broccoli sprouts have one of the highest concentrations of sulforaphane, which is an incredible detoxifier inside of the body.
Yes, absolutely. So broccoli sprouts, you could actually increase the amount of sulforaphane in your broccoli if you add some mustard seed on top when you cook it. That will increase the amount of sulforaphane. But also what I learned is that broccoli that's been previously frozen will not have the same level of sulforaphane because of the enzyme that's required to create it. Actually gets denatured when you freeze the broccoli. So fresh broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, the really sulfury vegetables, leafy greens that you hear about, there's a lot to it. And I think the fundamental is that it's actually being mediated through glutathione, a lot of these benefits.
Yeah, not to mention the extra fiber that you'd be getting inside of your diet. I will say that there are some people that I know that really have a hard time with cruciferous. Maybe they grew up picky eaters. They're not getting enough of these broccoli, and they might vomit at the sight of broccoli sprouts. Even though I love broccoli sprouts, you pour on a little bit of olive oil, sea salt. I'll just eat them by themselves. Like, they taste amazing. In those instances, I think that there's some pretty good supplement options that are out there that have sulforaphane inside of them. I'm not affiliated with any brands, but people can look them up and just get from a high quality source. Maybe even at the Swell, you guys have the Swell score. Maybe even have some sulforaphane recommended supplements. So just to recap, avoid toxins, number one, to the best degree we can.